Oh, hey everybody. It's been a while since we made a video, but we've been working on the Mustang all this time. We just haven't been making a lot of videos because there hasn't been a lot of interesting stuff to show you. So I figured today we would just show you what we've been doing anyway. Still working on these doors. What the plan is right now, since we cut all the sheet metal off the back of the car and we have to put the new quarter panels on, I want to get the doors hung back on the car so we can use the body line on the door as a reference when we install the quarter panel. I also want to have the door on so when I install the quarter panel I can work with the gap at the back of the door and make sure that that's right, because once those quarter panels are on, they're not coming off. But in order to put the doors on, even just temporarily, to mock them up so I can have them as a reference, I want to have a coat of primer on them because there's a lot of bare steel on here from the sanding that we've been doing, and in order to prime them, all the body work has to be done, so I have to get the body work done. So you can see I got a lot of coats of filler on here. They're all really thin, but I'm trying to get these things nice and straight. And one trick that I've been using, the black E-coat that comes on the door is basically like a guide coat. If you just run the sandpaper over that, it'll show you what scratches and what doesn't scratch, and you can find your highs and lows really easily. And on this one, because it's got this curved contour, I'm using that same round wooden dowel and a piece of sandpaper, and I use that to sand the curved parts of the door where you can't get in, with a flat piece of sandpaper. And I've been working on the top here, and it's been coming out pretty even, so I'm not too worried about it. The only thing that I've noticed is right here where it rolls up, there are a couple of shiny spots that are a little bit lower than everything else around them. But actually, as I sand it a little bit more, I can see that that's cleaning up pretty good. There might be one or two spots like right in here. So I might just put a little light coat of filler on. And there's definitely like a little dimple right there. Still a lot of filler on here that's got to come off. I'm going to use the dowel with some 80 grit just wrapped around it, because none of this is flat. You can't really use the board because it won't conform to these contours. So just do a little bit of hand sanding now. Remember, just keep it random. You don't want to rub it like this, because with this dowel you'll just cut little grooves that way. You want to go up and down in a crisscross pattern, diagonally this way, that way, swirl it around, and just keep moving until you get it all off. That's almost it. I like to keep the dust off of the door, or whatever part it is that you're sanding, so it doesn't build up on your sandpaper. Now knock it off of your paper too, because you don't want to build up these little, you'll build up little balls of dust, and then that'll lift the paper off of the surface, and it won't cut right. And here, this one's almost done. You know, this is all smooth. I can't feel anything on this. The only thing I see, there's a couple of grooves in here. When I spread the filler, I had to overlap it with the trowel, or I went back and I didn't quite get it even. So these are actually some low spots that aren't going to sand out. I have to come back and just put a little bit more filler in and fill those. You know, but there isn't much more sanding left to do on this area. I'd say that's it, that's done. And you can polish this all you want, but it's not going to do much more. And basically, you know, I can see the outline of where the black E-coat was. It's right at the edge of the filler. That means everything that's high has been uncovered and the low's been filled. Alright, I'll show you a little tip that I use. This is a flexible sanding board that I use on the doors. And in order to get the sandpaper to stick to this, you either have to buy self-adhesive sandpaper, which I really can't find in the stores around here, or you have to figure out some other way to get it to stick on. There are no clamps or anything to hold the paper onto this board. So I'll show you the trick that I use. First we'll just peel off this old one. And I use a spray-on adhesive. This is 3M General Purpose 45 spray adhesive. Sometimes you'll get a buildup of glue on the back of this thing. So I just take a little bit of paint thinner on a Scotch-Brite pad. You don't need a lot. You know, remember, Scotch-Brite isn't really absorbent, so be careful when you pour this on here. And the first thing I'll do is I'll just wipe this down and rub off all the old glue. You know, I don't know if it really matters. I don't want glue balls sticking on the bottom of this surface, which could then create bumps in the sandpaper. And then those bumps might translate into issues when I'm sanding. So a little paint thinner on a Scotch-Brite pad will dissolve that glue right off, no trouble. Now I'm just going to grab a rag and wipe this off, and I'll show you how to stick on the new piece. So now I just take a rag and wipe it off. A little dirty. But now this thing is nice and smooth as the day I bought it. And it's clean. Now I'll just let that air out a little bit. Paint thinner is a solvent, it'll evaporate pretty quick. So now I have this, like I said, 3M General Purpose spray adhesive. But this is the kind of sandpaper you can buy, at least that I can find around here. It just comes in a roll. Sometimes there's a metal like cap on the end of this spool that has a smaller hole in the middle. This roll doesn't have it. This is 80 grit, 2 3/4 inch wide, 25 feet long. So what you do is you measure out the right length and then tear it off. down. Now I got obviously the back side facing up. And you don't want to get this on the door or anything. And you don't need a lot of glue because you're going to be pushing down with this sander on the door. So the paper's really not going to fall off. That should be plenty. You probably don't even need to spray it on here. But I give it a little shot every once in a while. And that's it. Then you just pick it up and stick it on. I like to start at one end and then just go to the other end. And that's it. There you go. Now you've got a flexible sanding board with your cheap sandpaper glued on it, and you saw how easy it was in the beginning to just peel this off. It really doesn't get much more sticky than that. And there you go. Now you can sand your door.